Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Can you see? Just about in every culture, since the beginning of civilization, societies have considered marriages and marriage ceremonies sacred to the families. Wedding takes place at all levels of society. Celebration in the family delight all family members. Friends and relatives also attend the event to share the pleasure. Extravagant amounts of money are spent on the ceremony and the reception. When I think of the wedding ceremony in the Bible, I think of the wedding feast in Cana in Galilee, which Jesus had attended, and how the wine ran out. And just Jesus had to intervene to rescue groom's family from shame. In this gospel reading this morning, our wedding banquet, Jesus uses a story that is quite familiar to the readers of this day. People also understood the caste system. They knew that the higher the participant's social rank, the more formal, luxurious arrangement. In this case, it was royal wedding. The king held a wedding feast for his son. The king was nice. The party was about to get started. People don't show up. The king sent out his servants to call the guests to come. They ignored his call. Once again, he sent other servants begging for the guests to come, but they refused the invitation. After several failed attempts, he sent his servants to tell the guests, "Come to the wedding feast. The table is set. Come to the wedding feast." The king turns around as if nothing has happened and said to his servant, "The wedding is ready, but the guests were not worthy." I do not know why someone would refuse to attend the wedding banquet of King's son. Naturally, people will fight and clamor to be at such an event, but not in this parable. Instead of heeding God's invitation, they do what they are good at doing. They created an excuse that they are busy or play either a deaf ear. Nobody comes. One heads off to his farm, another walks off to his business. Our world is shattered. We see evidence of this around us every day. In our communities, in the news headlines, in our hearts. As humans, our natural tendency is towards selfishness. Sometimes it's easy for us to point out the greed we see in others. But if we are honest, we can also see it in ourselves. We hurt others and reject God in our pursuit of self-sufficiency. Everyone is estranged from Jesus, who desires to have intimate relationship with each of us. At the wedding banquet, we may feel the emptiness in our heart and indescribable longing to be truly loved. We often try to fill this void within us with all kinds of behaviors and relationships. Some are helpful, while others are harmful. But no one of them could fully and honestly serve this place. But this reading is full of surprises. As it was written in the prophet Isaiah, "The king's ways are not my ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts." The surprise keeps coming. The king turns around almost as though nothing has happened and said to his servant, "The wedding feast is ready." But the invited were not worthy. Go, therefore, into the ministry and invite everyone you find to the wedding banquet. In this parable, the king never gave up, and he sent his servant out for the first time, and this is the third time he sent his servants to bring the people to the wedding feast. So these servants took to the streets and gathered all the evil and the good they found. The wedding hall was filled with dinner guests. Those who filled the wedding hall were not those who not on the original guest list and who have no reason to hope for a place at the banquet. It is about us, sinners. In this parable, there are two groups of people who have been invited. The only thing that distinguishes the first invited guest from the second invited guest is their presence. The second invited guest showed up at the wedding banquet. The first invited guest did not. The wedding hall was filled with the second invited guest, but the first invited did not attend. That is the only difference between the two groups. The key to our life in God is to show up, to be present. That's a lot easier said than done. To be present is difficult work. Think about how difficult it is to be present to another person. That could mean establishing the other person as our priority and seeing them for who they are and not who we want them to be or think they should be. In other words, the vulnerability of entrusting and giving our life to others and bringing and offering all that we are and all that we have. If we do not do it with others, we may not do it with God. Instead, we often go separate ways to our farms and businesses. We are so busy, so tired, so distracted. There is work to be done and money to be made. We make light of the other's life and what is being offered. We are convinced we have better things to take care of and better place to be. We all remember the story of Jesus' visit to the two sisters, Mary and Martha. Martha was so distracted by many things she had to do. What happened when Martha blamed her sister, Mary, to the Lord for not being helpful? What was the answer of the Lord to her? Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her. Like Martha, many of us miss such divine moments in life because we are distracted and try to do everything to the fullest to gain others' approval. That's what the first invited group did. They did not realize, we sometimes do not realize that there is no life outside the banquet, the kingdom. Ultimately, like Martha, we will not only fail, but question God's affection for us. Being present in the present is a Christian devotion, which uses everyday things and events that encourage us to take advantage of every opportunity God brings into our life. Being present in present is a rare gift. It is a gift we receive from our Father above, and gift we can offer to those around us. To show up and be present is to be worthy before God. It could be that simple, or it could be that difficult. We do not earn or prove our worthiness as a precondition for entering the banquet. We show up and be present and discover for ourselves the marriage that God has always known about us. This parable is a reminder to us of who we are and what the sinners brought in from the ministry. Yet, he has graciously, lovingly, carefully made you worthy to be at his feast by his grace and his provision. Amen.
Amen.